Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Doug Wilkerson with Saturday Night Live Life Recovery Ministry here in Joplin. We're live here in our meeting here at the church down in the basement, coming off the alley. And you're welcome here if you're looking for a live meeting. If you want a meeting on the go, then you've already found us. So hopefully this will be a help for you tonight. We're into a new month. This is the fifth month, so that means we're in the fifth step. So we're in step 5. Step 5 is we admit to God, ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Right, our wrongs. And I'm going to be talking about that last part of that step, but Rick's going to be talking about the whole step. He's got some insight on that, and Willie's going to give us some big reflection on the step. This will be his first reflection, so he's debuting in the reflection. He did the step last week, so anyway. Tommy, if you're down there in the O show, I hope you're getting better. And everybody else out there, we just had prayer, and we just prayed for God's touch on all the different individuals and families. So, and particularly those that are struggling, having a hard time, whether it's in recovery or in whatever manner. So tonight we're going to be talking about feelings of shame. This is always a interesting topic, and I'm interested in hearing what wisdom and insight and pearls of knowledge that Rick's going to be giving with us tonight. And so, you know, we've all have experiences. We've all lived life. We all have insight. And we should really share those things that we've obtained in our journey. So anyway, we'll be doing that tonight. And let's see, Rick's going to be doing that. Willie, okay, I think I've already shared all that. A couple of quotes. This quote has been coming up in my head pretty often here lately, and this is Spinoza. And everyone here in the room should know this quote, or at least have heard it. But if you hadn't, let me know, and I'd just be interested. So anyway, Spinoza said this. He says, emotion, which is suffering, ceases to be suffering as soon as we form a clear and precise picture of it. What do you think about that? Shall I read that again?
Yeah.
Okay. This is Spinoza. He said, emotion, comma, which is suffering, comma. That always gets people's attention, just that part of the quote. Ceases to be suffering as soon as we form a clear and precise picture of it.
One more time.
One more time. Emotion, which is suffering, ceases to be suffering as soon as we form a clear and precise picture of it. You want me to talk about it for a second? Well, let's start at the end of it. That is so, can be so helpful. Oftentimes we want to bury our head, we want to avoid, we want to deny, we want to look away. We don't want to address what's going on in our life. Isn't that the truth?
Yep.
Hello?
Yep.
And so we have to become aware, and then we have to deal with it. And Spinoza here is saying that soon as we form a clear and precise picture, that means soon as we get it in focus and we're able to really see what's going on, because how can you deal with anything that you're not seeing or you're unwilling to look at? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, for years, there was a particular problem that I had in my life, but I just wanted to avoid it, deny it, not look at it, and I sure didn't want anybody else to tell me about it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Hello? And so, and until I decided I needed to look at it. I needed to deal with it. I didn't know how I was going to deal with it. But see, the first step is being willing to look at it and develop that clear and precise picture of it. That's the first step, becoming aware. Does that make sense? How's that sound?
Yep.
And when you do that, then you're beginning. Now, that's tough, but actually, that's not the toughest part. That's just tough. In fact, when you really finally, when you decide you're going to stop denying it and accept it, then you realize that it's been there all along, and everybody's always seen it, and you're the last one to the party. And then you think, oh my goodness, everybody could see this, and I didn't, or I was pretending that I didn't. Anyway, let's go on. Let's read this one. Maya Angelou said this. She said, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People will never forget how you made them feel. And that is so true. That is so true. Because our emotive feelings go into our nervous system, and it comes back pretty quick. We're able to pull up that part of our memory easier if we had a good, strong memory. Now, a lot of us, I don't know a lot of us, it seems like to me I'm able to pull up the negative ones faster and better than the positive ones. I don't know about you guys, but that's been my pattern. Okay. And I kind of like this one. Let's see. I don't have the name down here. I can't remember his name. I'm looking for it, but I don't have it. But anyway, this gentleman said this. He says, "Victims love entertainment, and leaders love education." That's a pretty deep one if you'll stop and think about it.
Yep.
Sure. Victims love entertainment, and leaders love education. And the way I understand that, the victims look for entertainment as a tool of avoidance, of escape, to deny, where a leader will educate. And basically that kind of ties in with Spinoza's quote there a while ago, if you think about it. Okay, questions. Are you ready for the questions that we normally do? All right. Are these questions been helpful? Have you been thinking about them throughout the week? They have been? All right, good deal. Well, then thank you for the encouragement. That keeps me moving on. Oh, okay. All right, and again, I've added a question to the very end, but we have these same questions. And the first question is, what causes relapse? What causes relapse? Life. Shame. Stress.
Life.
John says life. And I'm thinking about these things.
We have stress and we have all of that in our life.
I know. I was thinking about it when you said that is we blame life for our relapse. We blame stress for our relapse.
I don't blame life for my relapse. I'm guilty.
Okay.
But life brings it on.
It gives you an opportunity to. You decide. Don't we decide what we're going to do?
What I allow in my life brings it on.
Yeah, that is absolutely the truth. Yeah, okay.
But
Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty.
But I allow mine.
Nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Dirt bag.
All right, what are the common triggers for relapse? Common.
Looks.
Do what?
Maybe looks.
Looks from people, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Smells,
Smells, okay.
friends.
Do what?
Mine would be doing good.
Doing good
Yeah.
causes relapse or triggers?
Let me regret complacency.
Ah, now that's getting closer to the nitty gritty there, isn't it?
Complacency.
Okay, yes.
Old friends.
Old friends, yes, yes. I ought to go back to that quote that I didn't read a while ago, and this is from Panza. He says, tell me who you walk with, and I'll tell you who you are. I skipped that one, but you hooked me back into it, John.
On the question,
Yeah,
Twitter and Facebook.
Twitter and Facebook, they can be they can produce they can do it. Yeah. But the idea here is to be aware of your triggers so that you can better arm yourself to be able to deal with those triggers so that you can be less triggered. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Can that work? Has that worked for anybody?
Yes.
It has? Okay. All right, let's go to the next question. What does it mean if you relapse? You're human? Well, yeah, that could mean that. Well, I think the main, I think the bottom line, if you don't mind me, just go ahead and jump in here because the room went quiet. To me, what that means is a lack of self-care and a lack of education, learning, growing, developing, and which all that is self-care, right?
Yeah.
That's not all that self-care is, but that is definitely in the self-care area. Because if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't learn, grow, develop, be curious, recognize your triggers, be responsive to what you have learned and being aware when you are triggered so that you can deal with it, then you're going to have a relapse.
Yeah.
Why do people relapse when things go good? You jumped ahead and I think already kind of talked about that one, maybe. Things are going good and you get complacent, like, I got this. I was shot full of holes and now I'm bulletproof.
Right. Then you stop doing the things that got you where you was at. You stop going to your meetings and you stop working your program, doing steps and stuff like that.
Which is all self-care.
Yeah, it's all self-care.
And you start seeing your old friends.
And there you go.
I'm just
Bam.
saying.
Yeah, you're right. You start seeing your old friends. Why? Because I can handle it now. Oh yeah? How did it work out last time?
It got me here.
Okay. All right, let's see. Will I always be in danger of relapse?
Yes. As long as I'm reading.
That doesn't mean you have to relapse,
No.
but if you don't pay attention to those warning signs, which at the end of the meeting I'll be going, tonight I just decided I'm going to go over all the warning signs out of the 3 areas of relapse. And then I wanted to talk about one thing. Let's see, I can't even remember what it is right now. Let's see. The 3 strategies for mental relapse prevention. So hopefully I get to that tonight. So, all right, last question. And that is the question I inserted last week. Why or what started you on your addictive path? Why or what started you on your addictive path? You know, if we are able to know that, if we, you know, it's like everybody says, you know, if you just keep dealing with the symptoms of a problem, then you never ever deal with the problem. You go to the root. So if you look at the causation, what was the beginning, at least that gives you an idea, some things you may need to deal with. What do you think?
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
Anybody have anything? I'll read the question again, then I'll give an opportunity for a response if there is any. Why or what started you on your addictive path? Any comments?
Experimenting. Just,
Say it again.
you know, experimenting, kind of.
Experiment.
See what it's about.
Okay.
Circumstances of life, getting up a car at age 3.
Pressure.
Peer pressure. So is that peer pressure is a part of the experimenting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was wanting to go a little deeper when you said experimenting. So you did go a little bit deeper, and you said peer pressure. But you know what? I think we can still go a little deeper. I know. Why do I know? You don't.
Bad choice, I mean, just, I didn't have to choose it, I chose it, but I mean, sorry.
That's all right.
Wanted,
What?
wanted to feel accepted by our peers.
That was it.
Yeah.
That's it. See, he knew it too.
What is it?
Wanted to be accepted. Wanted to be accepted, which is part of the peer pressure thing. But it's not only just wanting to be accepted, but you just didn't want to be rejected.
Right.
I mean, we do want to be accepted, but even more than that, we don't want to be rejected. And so then that leads to some of these other things. Because the fact of it is a biological human need to want to belong, to be accepted. So, thank you for letting me experiment on you. It may have been a little unfair since you're still a little green around here, but you know, it's, now we're breaking you in pretty good now, aren't we? All right, any comments before we go on to the next part? Okay, we're gonna let John read the 12 steps. All right, John. Woo-hoo.
Where are the steps?
I have a set.
Okay, sorry. Step 1, we admit that we're powerless over our problems and that our lives have become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you, John. Everybody doing all right tonight? I hope. All right, we are on step 5. We admitted to God and to ourselves and to other human beings the exact nature of our wrong. And I chose tonight feelings of shame. And I chose that because that's something that I've dealt with for the biggest part of my life. I've always heard that there's a difference between guilt and shame. Guilt says I've done something bad, and shame says I am bad. And like I said, I felt that way about myself for the biggest part of my life, and it's caused me to relapse many times. But anyway, I'm not going to read this whole thing here because of the time, but I'm going to read a paragraph right here first to this because it kind of caught my attention. It says, as Christians, we can recognize that step 5 comes from the ancient church discipline of confession. James 5:16 says, confess your sins to each other so that you may be healed. We were not meant to keep secrets, even about our most shameful acts. God calls us to be connected, to bear one another's burdens, excuse me, and to open the eyes of our hearts. Addiction is in opposition to God's design because it thrives on secrets, sneaking and hiding drinks, hits, or partners. God, I know that feeling. I've done that so much. Our first reaction to admitting to God, to ourselves, and to another human being is defenseless and fear. We may decide that since we can see our own faults through the 4-step inventory, and God knows it anyway, we don't have to be vulnerable to another person, meaning we don't have to, we can just keep it, our shame, keep it all a secret, and that's not good. I mean, you need to find somebody that you can share that with and get it out in the open. I'm gonna go to the Bible verse here, which is John 8:3-11. I'll find it here.
8 through what now? 3, 8?
3 to I'm just gonna go on through 11. Excuse me. Jesus returned to the Mount Olives, but early the next morning, he went back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. As he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. Teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust. With his finger. They kept demanding an answer, so he stood up again and said, all right, but let the one who has never sinned, throw the first stone. Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, only until Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. Her accusers were trying to shame her and, give her that guilt and everything. And when Jesus rolled in the dust and what he did, I mean, this is just my feeling. He opened the eyes of the teachers and everything, and they realized that they had stuff in them too, that they was hiding. I mean, that's just my feelings about it. And of course, I always read this side note here. Excuse me. Shame has kept many of us in hiding. It sure has me. The thought of admitting our sins and revealing ourselves to other human beings stirs up feelings of shame and the fear of being exposed in public. The teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "the law of Moses said to stone her. What would you say?" Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding answers, so he stood up again and said, "All right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone." Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Many of us believe that it was Jesus writing in the dust that caused the accusers to leave. Perhaps he was listing the secret sins of the Jewish leaders. If this is true, it gives us a beautiful picture of the kind of person Jesus is. A person to whom we can safely expose our secrets. Our confessor needs to be someone who is not surprised by sin and will not be waiting to condemn us. Such a person needs to take a private note of our wrongs, writing them in soft dust, not etching them in stone and posting them in public. Since shame can be a trigger for addictive behavior, we need to be careful about whom we confide in. And that's the reason why I'm real big on finding a sponsor, somebody that you can trust to do your step 4 with, to tell your inventory to tell your secrets to, that you know that's not going to go out and shame you even more than what you're already shamed. So to me that's very important, to find that right person. Okay, I'll go on to the questions here. Again, I really like this part of step 5, feeling the shame, because I know for me, I've tried to hide from my shame, just like it said in that one paragraph. I'm guilty of sneaking drinks, hiding drinks, lying about it. I'm not drinking, bull crap. I've even lied to Doug about it before. And he knew good and well I was. And, I thought I was fooling somebody and I wasn't, but I was hiding for my shame. I didn't want to admit the things that were inside of me. And so anyway, on to the questions here. Number 1 says, what scares me about sharing the exact nature of my wrong with another human being? I'm afraid of what someone else is thinking of me. I'm afraid to open up and let somebody see what's real in me. Because some of the crap that I've been through, some of the crap that I've done in my life, it went beyond feeling guilty. I mean, I was shameful for it, so that's that right there is, that's what really scares me about it. Number two is, who is my fear related to in my past? People in general. I have a fear of people. I don't know why. I've always been like that. I have a fear of being around a group of people. And it's real strange because anybody that knows me knows that I used to play in a band and I sang in front of a bunch of people, and you'd never think that I was afraid of people. But I am. I have a fear of people. This started years ago when I realized that I was an alcoholic. I was ashamed. I didn't want no one to see. I didn't want nobody to know that I was sneaking drinks and hiding drinks and doing all this. I didn't want nobody to know it. So it started years ago when I realized that I was an alcoholic. 3, has there ever been a time in my life when I felt fear and took action anyway? Yes. Went to treatment. For me, that's harder than going to jail, because when you go to treatment, you have to be honest with yourself and the other people about the exact nature of your wrong. And number 4, have I set the appointment for completing step 5 by sharing my step 4 inventory, my commitment to myself? I haven't as of yet, because I haven't found the right person to share this with. When I find the right person to share this with, someone that I can trust to be my sponsor, or somebody I can trust to confide in, I will. So, as of yet, I haven't been able to set a date and a time. But, anyway, shame is a big cause of a lot of relapses. And if you can find someone to share your step 5 with, your step 4 with, your step 5 with, it's really crucial that you do it, because if you hold in that shame, eventually it's gonna get you, and you're gonna go backwards. You're gonna relapse. I know it's happened to me so many times. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
That was good.
Good job, Rick.
Thank you.
You're gonna make it awful hard on me here. Hard to get that deep feeling down in your gut to just, hey, you look at someone, you think, man, I don't wanna talk to them. They know what I did wrong. Why should I tell them? Why should, So shame just keeps you from moving forward. You gotta get rid of it, or you can't go forward. It's just the only way you can look at it. You gotta pass it off and you're gone, or it's gonna eat you up, and then you're stuck. You're just stuck. And eventually you're gonna go back to relapse. That's all there is to it. That's all I have.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Thank you, Willie.
That's good.
Thanks, guys.
Well,
Well, I noticed, Rick, you didn't ask if anybody, particularly me, if I had any questions.
oh, you got any questions? Sorry.
I had several.
Well, go ahead and ask me.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I know I had several, but this is the only one that is, seems to be the only one in the forefront of my mind right now. And that is, you indicated at the end of your step that it's very important to, in step 5, to deal with this stuff and share your inventory with, to process your life. That is very important to go forward. Correct?
Correct.
That was a setup comment, by the way.
Okay.
And so But you said the thing that has held you back was because you haven't found the right person. So is the right person the perfect person?
No,
Oh, so then, I was wondering your criteria, if it was, so restrictive that is a convenient opportunity to hold off, doing what you said is really important.
I think that, and I understand your question,
I tried to make it not, less direct. I could make it more direct if you.
yeah, no, it's direct enough for me to understand, yeah, because it's easy to want to put that off. It really is, I mean,
Yeah,
because some of my stuff is hard to share with anybody.
it is. And,
But I'm actually actively, looking
okay, good
for
deal.
somebody that I can sit down with, and I've got a couple people in mind. I mean, I've
Awesome.
sat down with you before
Sure,
and, talked to you about my stuff,
right.
and, I'm comfortable with that. And I've got another person in mind to ask to be my sponsor. He's got 11 years.
Well, if you were to listen to the guy that was presenting the step tonight, what he has instructed you or highly suggested to you to get actively involved and pursue that as soon as possible.
Right,
Isn't that what I think he said,
yeah,
basically?
yes, sir.
And so, because I remember many years ago, and I've had several people like this, and probably none of you here is this way, it would be this way, but they said, I don't need the steps, I don't want to study the steps, because all I need is just the Bible. Did you say that, Rick?
A long time ago,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I remember. But you weren't the only one. There's been a lot of folks that did that. And, but now Rick says that the step work is very important. In fact, in the last several months, all of us probably have noticed the growth in Rick himself from working on the steps. And so, anyway, so I thought I'd just address that. That was one of the questions that I had in my mind. That so if there's not a perfect person, so how what if you have to not take a perfect person to deal with this? Is it about them or is it about you?
yes. I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, to me, the person that I'd want to share with would be a person that has actually been where I'm at and knows how important it is to keep that confidential, to not make it public, and go to sharing it on Facebook and
Sure, that's very important. So that'd be a trustworthy person.
it's gotta be somebody that I can trust. A
Well,
perfect person.
in this story you read, Jesus gave us an example of that,
Yes.
and that is taking note of what was going on. And I liked what they said in the literature that we need some people in our lives that would be willing to listen to our confessions and not write it in stone, but write it in the dust so that it can be easily erased. And the fact of it is, it has been erased because Jesus has paid the price. He has erased it already if we will allow him to do that in our life. Would you agree with that? And so our biggest hindrance is ourselves. And so, and
We are our worst enemy.
it's kind of interesting how people evolve. Have you noticed this? And I'm sure that all of you have. They, when they first start having this recovery, internal recovery, they don't want to share anything with anybody, but give them a little bit of time and that they've processed this and they start sharing it, and the next thing you know, they're putting it on Facebook. about themselves.
Yeah.
Am I telling the truth?
All right.
So I wonder what that all means. Just a thought. Okay. All right. One of the things I wanted to hit in this that really kind of jumped out at me a little extra strong as I studied it, and I mentioned it earlier, was the comment about the exact nature of our wrong. Okay? Does anybody want to offer up their thoughts, what they think might be the exact nature of your wrong? While you're thinking, I'm gonna shift spots. How about that?
The nature,
Do what?
the nature that we succeed.
The exact nature of your wrong.
That's what's hit me too, is the nature of our own.
The nature of your wrong. Yes.
The nature.
Yes. Yes. That's
Right there.
yes. The nature. What do you think that means?
What started it, what caused it.
Could be. I'd say that would be a part of it for sure. Go ahead.
Isn't that like our learning? Like what we learned as a kid? Like how we were taught as a kid?
Well, it very well can be. How about if I use a different word? Temperament.
Explain what temperament means.
Temperament would, you talk about people that they have a certain type of temperament. They have a good temperament. They have a bad temperament. They have a hot temperament, right? It's a certain form of expression of themselves or behavior that would be their temperament. How about mood? Mood, yeah. Mood being we say they're moody, mood swings, okay? How about traits? How about that word? Traits. Traits, like that's their trait, or kind of like behavior. Right? That's their trait. Or here's an old, this reaches back a ways, and particularly, it's probably used more often with African Americans, and that is where they talk about people's ways, right? But the scripture refers to ways all the time. Your way or your ways, which would be nature, trait, behavior, temperament, mood. Okay, let's see. I think I have a definition in here about nature. This is out of the Merriam-Webster. It's the inherent character or basic construction of a person or thing, and then they said essence. Their essence, okay? Goes on down and says temperament. It's got physical construction, or, I like this next term, or drives of an origin. In other words, it's the thing that drives you. Okay? What do you think about that so far? So, I was talking to a man, it was yesterday. He'd been in the ministry, I don't know, long time, 25, 35 years, something like that, maybe more. And so they just asked me what I was doing. And I said, well, I was preparing for tonight, and I was studying about this, and I was studying about the exact nature of our wrongs. And they made a truthful statement, but I feel like it was just still a surface statement. Are you interested in the statement? Well, they said, you know, our nature is a sinful nature. This is, you know, it's sinful. We're just sinful nature. Well, you know, that's kind of a light, I mean, not saying it's not true, because it is true, but that doesn't get down to the exact nature of our wrongs. In other words, why do I do what I do? How about that one? Why do I do that? And I think that's what this step is really trying to help us to dig into. Kind of like what I was doing to you a while ago. I was digging into you. I was going a little layer at a time, okay? Because see, we hide stuff from ourselves all the time. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
And so, and again, I may have kind of, you know, been a little unfair with, you know, going through your layers there, but you know, you kind of gave me a permission, so, you know, you kept talking, so that's permission. And, and so I was looking at the exact nature of my wrongs. Now, because, you know, in our earlier stages, we read that and we think about the exact nature of my wrong. In other words, I just see what I did. Well, see, that's what step 4 did to a large degree, was just to look at, make a list, an inventory of what I did, okay? And it's good to know what I did, all the good I did, all the bad I did, you know, just, I needed to paint that picture out there so I can't come out of the darkness and identify where things are at. But step 5 here is starting to go deeper and deal with that. And to really to be able to deal with that, you have to recognize not just what I did, but why I did those things. And that can really take us on a journey. Does that make sense? Is this helpful? Does that make any sense to you? And so, and if you are confessing not what I did, and we're not talking about just confessing what I did, because what you did is doings, okay? But what was the driving force that did that? Okay, why was I, see, because everything that I do and you do, we do for a reason, whether we realize it or not. Would you agree with that statement?
Yep.
Okay, I want to say that again. Everything that we do, I do, you do, we all do, we do for a reason. Now, we either do it consciously, but most of the time it's unconscious, okay? It's some unconscious drives that are driving us. Now, how can we fix unconscious stuff if we're not looking to try to find out what that unconscious stuff is? Does that make sense? Is that too much? Okay. I know maybe I get a little passionate about this, but I think it's really important because I want to help people be set free, and this stuff, whether it's unconscious issues or it's traumas, you know, I read some research probably 4, 5, 6 years ago, maybe 7, I don't know, it's been a while back, about, and I've cited this before, but it was so astounding that of a college group, which they were working in the hospital, but they were caseworkers, social workers, or therapists. I don't know, in training or something like that. Anyway, they would interview girls and females, ladies that would come in that had been sexually abused, raped, beat up, abused, and they would take their story and put it into their medical records. Basically, what they were doing. Is that okay so far? And they did. I think, I don't know how. It was 150 or something like that cases they did while they were in that part of their work. And so 25 years later, somebody did a follow-up study, and they went to those people, those ladies, and were asking them about that experience and how that has affected their life. Just a follow-up visit. And I think it was like 60% of those ladies that had their story recorded in their medical records at the time of the event denied or said they couldn't remember any such event happening in their life. And some of those finally were able to come. They weren't trying to force them to remember. They were just following up. And some of them did remember, but a lot of those did not remember or could not remember and totally denied that anything ever happened. And the doctor that was reporting on this, and actually this was Dr. Dan Allinger, he has an institute in Seattle, Washington. He said that these folks had such a strong mental block that they could totally block out that trauma in their life for various different reasons. One is because they wanted to disappear, so it disappeared. Now, just because it disappeared out of their life didn't mean that it didn't affect their life. Just because they weren't aware of it didn't mean that they weren't being emotionally pushed around by it. Does that make sense? Again, that would be in the unconscious realm. Does that make sense? Because particularly traumas, all traumas, according to neuroscience, all traumas affect or damage the brain. And so it affects how you're able to think. That's what that means. It interrupts your natural ability to flow in your thought pattern that you have. And so it alters you and it changes you. And that's the reason why it's so important to have mental, emotional, spiritual, and because your nervous system knows, okay, what's going on inside, even though you may not cognitively know. I know that may not make sense, but that's what the research says. You know, how many times have different folks talk to me about they have body responses to certain events, and they don't know why. And oftentimes they call that body memories, because your body responds, and you don't know why, and you think you're going crazy. That happens. So anyway, that's the exact nature of our wrong. I think is deeper than just a laundry list of stuff that I did wrong. It's way more important than that. And Gabor Mata says it this way, particularly about substance abuse. He says, and he lectures on this, has been for many years. I really like his focus. He says, don't tell me about your addiction, tell me about your pain. Because he says all people have pain. He says it's amazing that not everyone has addictive issues. In fact, I don't know. Most people, even though they deny it, have addictive issues. But those addictive issues is a way to try to deal or cope with what's going on in their life, or at least what they think is going on in their life, or what they fear that's going on in their life. And so, if we can deal with the pain, the trauma, the issue, the fear, the hurt, the trauma again, and if we're able to resolve that and heal that, the need for the addictive behavior or substances diminishes. Now, that doesn't mean that you still don't have to change your habits, because you may have ingrained a habit in your brain that automatically takes over, and that's what we're talking about all the time, is trying to renew your thinking. And what the scripture talks about is, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That means you have to wash, cleanse, continue to heal and restore and line up with the truth, instead of the fear of the past, because as the scripture says, fear has torments. Isn't that the truth? It is the truth. So what we need to do is we need to come to the place that we look at the exact nature of our wrongs. We start to look at that, and confessing or talking or communicating to, number one, God. Okay. Let's see. I want to make sure that I have this correct. Admit to God. Yes, I did. God, yourself, and one other human being. Sometimes we'll talk to God about stuff that we won't even get real with ourselves in, but it's the beginning of the path. If you get, it's after you've talked to God, and I don't know, maybe it's the unconscious fear that, well, if God doesn't kill me, then I got a chance to go to the next step. Maybe I don't know, but we talk to God. We get serious with ourselves. It's kind of like levels, depths, and then that human being. And the reason why we do the human being is because there is a tremendous power in being listened to, in being heard. Okay? And it's so important. There is I'm trying to think of the doctor that I listened to. He was a psychiatrist. In fact, he was in charge of the Christian Psychiatric Association. This has probably been 15 plus years ago. He said that if Christians would just listen to each other, that would put his business out of work. Because there's a healing force in just listening to one another. And that listening is being non-judgmental, open, accepting, and willing to hear without judgment, of course. So that's my rant on exact nature of our wrong. Any thoughts or questions on that? Anybody want to straighten me out on my?
No, you're right on point.
Okay.
Right on.
Hopefully that can be helpful for you. Okay, let's. I'm going to touch pretty quickly here back on our topic. This is the 8th week on relapse prevention and relapse prevention. There are the 3 different stages of relapse. How many stages are there?
3.
Okay. And the first one is emotional relapse, mental relapse, and physical relapse. Emotional relapse is where you can things start happening and you may not even think about using or acting out, but you're in that place. Okay, here are some of the signs, signals. All right, these are like lights, stoplights, traffic lights, warning signals that we need to recognize, okay? Here are the signals, all right? This is in the emotional relapse. Anxiety, sadness, emptiness, depression, mood swings, anger, being defensive. Did I mention being defensive?
Yeah.
Guilty. I think shame should be in this list, but I don't see it. A low self-esteem and easy irritability. So if some of these symptoms or these signs are happening to you, then you may be in the middle of a emotional relapse.
Did you say irritability?
Irritability, okay, which is basically a little lower anger than anger, but it's not as high as rage or wrath, if you want to use the scriptural terminology. And that the way that you resolve these things are by taking inventory, okay? We look at ourselves, we check ourselves in the morning, we check ourselves at night, check ourselves at lunchtime, and it's like, how am I doing? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? Am I doing, what have I done good? What have I done bad? You can do it in 30 seconds. You're scanning, you're looking, but the thing of it is, if you've messed up, it jumps up pretty quick. You don't need a whole 30 seconds to find it, most of the time. Right? Okay, so, and that inventory is self-care, so if you have poor self-care, they had a secondary list, I'm gonna hit that, and that is isolating. Did I mention isolating? Okay, isolating. Not going to meetings, not exercising. Exercising is so important. It helps you. In fact, they say it's better than taking Prozac, okay? All right? Poor eating or eating irregularly. Some people are more affected by not eating than others. And the fact of it is, oftentimes it can affect you cognitively. Because because your brain uses a lot of energy out of your body, whether you realize it or not. And if it doesn't have the nutrition, then it can't function correctly. So if it's starving, then you are negatively affecting you in your intelligent level, but you're also affecting your entire body. Breaking your sober routine is a breakdown in poor self-care. Breaking your sober routine. In other words, I can do something different now, right? Kind of what we was talking about. The things that I was doing to help me get to where I'm at. I don't need to do it anymore. I've got this. But the fact of it is, you don't. Is anybody else warm? I've been warm for a while. Okay. All right. Hey, John, would you help us in that?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but I've been hot for a while, and I thought maybe it was just because I drank that hot tea real quick. But anyway, irregular sleep, lack of sleep, bottling up your emotions or stress. That means not taking care of yourself, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one and look at the signs. Okay, the signals, the flashing lights. All right. The first one is now we're going. If you don't take care of it emotionally, then that's going to go down into the mental area. Does that make sense? So you missed all those signs. So here you are again. Now the first sign is all the signs that was in the emotional one is also in the mental one. So we need to recognize, if you still got them, you need to deal with them. The trouble is, if you weren't dealing with them then,
trouble.
Yeah, you are, you're setting yourself up, you're on that slippery slope, okay? And it's because of lack of self-care. So that means you are even in worse shape now,
Yep.
okay? Because now you're mentally is getting involved here. And so you start having cravings of the substance or the behaviors or the activities, right? Hello?
That's right.
That's mental, because you hadn't taken care of the other level of the emotional. Does that make sense?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so you have cravings for the substances or behaviors. Number two, rationalizing why you can use just one more time, or do it one more time, or act out one more time, or, this thing that has always bothered me, that sent me down that wrong path, I can handle it now.
Exactly.
Do I?
This is really good.
Well, thank you. And so Jimmy and Scott Presley bought all the snacks, so. Okay, so next sign, signal, flashing light, warning sign, flashing lights, wanting to use substances, or thinking a lot about it, or acting out, or those behaviors, okay? Criticizing or awfulizing your sobriety or your clean time, disapproving of yourself, not good enough, thinking that you're not good enough. You start beating yourself up, because, see, one of the things that happens to us when we're feeling bad, when we start beating up on ourselves, we run to our escape mechanism, whatever our escape mechanism is. And if we're feeling really good, then oftentimes we want to reward ourselves and run to our mechanism of reward, which is that same escape mechanism. You follow me? All right. Thinking about the people and places and associating with using or acting out in those substances or areas that have minimized us, have made that we don't have power over, they have power over us. And what we did was say, yeah, one time they didn't have power over me, but now I am all powerful and I can handle it. So therefore, I'm gonna do it again. And how did that work out for you?
Good.
Yeah. All right. So that's the mental relapse. Okay, those are the signals. So there are quite a few. So if one or several or all of those signals are flashing or coming up, you are probably in a relapse. Not maybe in a relapse, you're probably in a relapse. Mental relapse and emotional relapse. You're in both of them now.
That's so fixed.
All right? The cravings are there. You're thinking, seeing, and visiting. All right? All right, the next one is the physical signs, okay? And that is you're buying drugs, you're buying alcohol, you're acting out. I wrote this down here. You're going to the casino. Okay? Because all that's there, right? And if you're there with it. Okay? And many people are having gambling issues, which, addictive behaviors can cluster up on us. And first we have one, and then we have multiples that show up and grab a hold of us. They kind of cluster up around us. And you get so overwhelmed that it's hard to know which one to fight. And you get so overwhelmed, you don't fight any of them. Is that too harsh?
No.
Okay, so, all right, so you're buying, seeking, acting out, going places where all of it is. You're driving somewhere with the intention to do all that. Okay? All right? I just want to go,
The bull.
yeah, I just want to, yeah.
I can go gambling once and just spend $20.
Bull hoppy.
Well,
I'm just,
yeah, I know.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, you can, the thing of it is, our system, our brain works against us.
Yep.
And we remember the hits and never remember the misses.
Yep.
And then we bet on hitting it again.
Oh.
And so, and it's the same way with drugs. They tell me that you never get as high as you can than your first time. First time is your highest. And after that, it's downhill, no matter how much you take. And I thought it was, this one guy said, and if you buy drugs and plan on saving it, like I'm just going to do a little bit, there's no saving it. Because it goes all the way. And that's the way it is with money if you have a gambling issue. What was it I talked about a couple of weeks ago, that using strong will, the strong will to resist is a pathway to being defeated. What we have to do is have the will to create avoidance techniques. That means we go places where we're not going to be tempted. Because if you say, well, I'm going to go where I'm going to be tempted, and I'll just use my willpower, your willpower is not going to last. So we need to use our willpower in the best way we can, and that is to avoid. I heard a fellow say this the other day. He said, so the best way to not eat junk food is not to have it in the house. If you don't buy it, then you're not going to see it. And if you can't see it, then you're not eating it at the house. So it's easier to use your willpower in the grocery store and say, no, I'm not going to do that. Because you can have willpower to make that move. But if you have chocolate cake in the refrigerator, some people can't handle that. Okay, maybe they can handle it for 5 minutes, but maybe they can't. Maybe it's whatever is your thing that has you, whatever is the thing that controls you, you need to recognize it so you can deal with it, because it's mastering you instead of you mastering it. And the way to help yourself is because we need to use our willpower to help us to avoid, so that if we have that a healthy avoidance technique, in other words, I don't go to casino because I know I got a problem there. I have multiple problems there, so I just don't go. And somebody will say, well, you can drink water, you can, not right? You can just come and hang out with me, be my friend. I don't know if anybody's ever said that to you before, but How'd that work out for you? So anyway, let's push forward here. All right, so calling people who you know that can help you make the connection. Now, you know how we do it. We call, but we don't necessarily ask directly. We just kind of work around the edges. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, work around the edges, but we know who we call, right?
Yep.
And if we find out they're not a source, then we start looking for people to help us to find out. Okay, and if that don't happen, then we will start driving, because our radar can pick up if we go around enough, right? Hello. I had a person here the other day said, I just went in to buy a soda in this convenience store. And I realized when I got in there, I was in the wrong place, in the wrong convenience store. Because they were being triggered. Not necessarily from what was there, but because when they used to go there before. Hello? And the fact of it is, if a place is a trigger, then you need to listen and pay attention, because you just had a warning sign. If you don't listen to your warning, you may only get one. I don't know. I don't know how many warnings you get. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? All right. Let's go to the next deal. Lying. Here, this is one of our favorites, isn't it? Lying. Okay. Lying to make your relapse easier. Okay. Easier to, navigate around it. Avoiding the problem. I'm not lying. I'm just not telling the truth. How about that one? Is that good? Okay. And do I? Yeah. And some people are very skilled about circling around the truth, but definitely not stepping into it. And so lying is lying is not, the worst thing is not what lying does to others, even though it does a lot, can do a lot. It can be very traumatic. But the worst thing is what lying does to us. It poisons us mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's like we're in a boat and we're drilling holes in the bottom of the boat. We're making ourselves weaker. I like what Jordan Peterson says, don't do things that make you weaker, right? And lying makes you weaker. You say, well, I don't know when I'm lying. Well, that may be the case, but then again, it may not. But if it is the case, if you really want to know, if you're really interested in being aware, if you turn your light on, your light of awareness, you'll start seeing it. Am I telling the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
Most of us can't. Okay? Let God be true, but every man a liar.
That's right.
Can you believe that God called us all liars? We have to change our nature. The exact nature, we have to change our nature. What do you think about that statement? And the fact of it is, it's something we have to stay right on top of. Okay? So are we ever we'll never have another problem about lying. No, I think it's going to be with us the rest of our life. Some of us, it may be more predominant than others, But the fact of it is, it's not how it affects others, even though that's very, very bad because it poisons relationships, but it's what it does to you. It weakens you mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. It weakens you. I don't know, there is an experiment, we're not gonna do it tonight, but there is an experiment about holding your arm out and resisting against it, and you lie, and it literally, you can't resist, it weakens you, it affects you. It affects you. So do not do things, that's called kinesiology, but don't do things or don't say things that weakens you. If anything else, I used to say don't sabotage yourself, which is, I think it's great. If you can do anything but sabotage yourself, don't sabotage yourself, right? All right, and then after a while I changed that and said, make healthy choices, at least a little healthier choice than you ever made, and that means you're moving in the right direction, okay? So tonight, we're just going to center on don't do things that weaken you. So the reverse of that is do things that strengthen you.
That's right.
That's what self-care is,
Exactly.
right? Recognizing the signs and dealing with them. You say, well, I don't know how to deal with them. Well, that's what education's about. You have to learn how to deal with it. Well, I don't know how. Well, that's right, you don't know how because you've been, you've never had to learn that, or you didn't learn that, and so you have your ways. How about that? I'm going to that one. Your ways is always to give in to your addictive personality. So what we have to do is change our ways, our nature, our temperament. Okay?
Exactly. Yep.
Too much? Okay, all right. Questions?
Nope.
Comments?
Nope.
Okay, I know I announced this at the beginning, I'm gonna announce it again. We will not be having meeting, we will not be having live, Saturday Night Live, on Memorial Day weekend. That Saturday night, which will be in 2 weeks, is that correct? It'll be 2 weeks? I think it is. We will not be having, this meeting, so, okay?
Next week, no.
No, we will have class, but this next week we will, but the week after that.
2 weeks.
We got 2 more Saturday nights, so it's the it's Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Memorial Day weekend, which is, I think it's the 28th. Yeah, okay. So that would be actually 3 weeks from tonight.
So 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, the third week, we got 2 more days.
All right, so may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may His face shine upon you and give you His peace.
Yeah.
Amen?
Amen.
And make healthy choices. Pay attention to your signals, right?
Right.
Don't run red lights,
Come on.
okay? Or yellow lights,
Come on.
flashing yellow lights. Or can you run flashing yellow
Come
lights?
on, like that.
I do it all the time.
Good night.